It's been a long time since I've done a YouTube video, and with everything going on in the world at the moment, as well as changes in my life, I thought filming a video is a good way to document my life and this period of time. I just thought it'd be good to look back on, and I'm already rambling. Anyway, I made a list of things that I want to talk about so I can stay on topic, but for those of you who know us, you know that this background is not our house. In Sydney, we have moved to New York, and yes, it's like the hardest hit place with coronavirus at the moment, so it's been pretty crazy. We've been here for 3 months. It'll be 3 months on Monday, and the time has gone so quickly. A lot has happened, but also not much has happened. Firstly, some people might ask, why did we move to New York? Why did we move to the US? So we moved to the US. Basically, it came around after our travels. When we got back from traveling in 2017 of February, we thought that we would stay in Sydney for at least a year and then move or travel or go somewhere. Anyway, it basically ended up turning into 3 years. And then I discussed with my boss at work the possibility of, well, I was just talking to him about my ideas of, you know, that we want to live overseas somewhere, but we had been really struggling to determine where that was going to be. And our company had, well, the head office, the head company is based in the US. And so he said, why don't I speak to our team in the US, see if there's a position? And I was like, yes, that would be amazing. And so he did, and it ended up working out that there was a position. And so I took it because I thought it would be a great opportunity. And that's basically the reason why we're here. With my job, it's actually working from home, which is perfect because of coronavirus times. I was already meant to be working from home, so that's really lucky. You're able to work anywhere in the US. You just need to be logged in and on Wi-Fi and that sort of thing with the right time zone of where you're looking after. So that made it really hard for us because, well, firstly, we don't know much of the country, and all we know is basically like LA and the West Coast a bit, and that's it. And so we were like, oh, we don't know where to go, what should we do? We were thinking about it. And Kel is a photographer, so we're like, well, we need a big city for him to be able to, you know, make it easier to find work and establish himself. So we thought, okay, LA or New York as the two main options. We've both never been to New York before. We have had mixed reviews from friends. Some people absolutely love it. Some people hate it and don't want to go, or are just not interested in going there. But I mean, we always thought it would be cool to live in New York, like from the movies and just the opportunities, and you know, if you can make it anywhere, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere type thing. So we're like, okay, we know it's going to be expensive, but let's give it a go. Try it. If we need to move, we can move, because luckily with my job we can move around to another city or somewhere else. So we're like, okay, this is perfect. So then we just decided on New York. We didn't really do that much research into it exactly. So I mean, apart from TV shows, of course, Gossip Girl on the Upper East Side, that's the only place I really knew. So I was like, oh, I want to live there, near Central Park. Anyway, that was a whole other thing. So we decided on New York. Then it was a mad rush for Kel to get a green card. A lot of people have been asking, how did you get to work in the US? Like, what did you guys do? What visa are you on? So I was actually born in the US, in New Jersey, which is either a good thing or a bad thing. My parents moved there for work and lived there for 10 years. And in those 10 years, my brother and I were born, so we're both US citizens. But my mum's Australian, so we're also Australian citizens. And then my dad is British, so we're also British citizens. So I have 3 passports, which is amazing and has given us this opportunity, but it's also very complicated with learning about different laws and tax and everything like that. But yeah, it's been an opportunity. So how Kel got here is I basically sponsored him as my husband to come to the US with me. And in order to do that from another country, like not within the US, it was just like the most stressful time. But if you have any questions about that, by the way, or if you want, I don't know, details about that, I'm happy to talk to you individually about how we did that, because it was a lot of paperwork, a lot of tax filing, which I had never done for the US because I had never worked there, but had to be done. Anyway, it was a lot of boring stuff. Worked out in the end. We got it done in 5 weeks, which all the US people working in the consulate were really surprised that we got it done in 5 weeks, so that was amazing. Kel had to do a medical, all of that type of stuff. He got the visa for the green card, which enabled us to come to the US, and then within the first 6 months he had to have gone to the consulate and received the green card. So we got the go ahead with that, but because it was taking such a long time for me to get an official letter of offer in order for me to submit the paperwork for Kel's green card, we were kind of in this limbo stage because our lease was coming up in our place in Sydney, but we didn't have the 100% go ahead for the US. So like, do we extend our lease? You know, what do we do? We also wanted to go on a honeymoon overseas before we went to the US. But sort of time was running out between when I was starting in the US and then the actual process in Australia. Anyway, what ended up happening is my work was really good. They understood and were really nice about it. So they let me go early without giving like the 4 weeks notice because they knew it was coming up. We ended up getting through the green card process, I think in 5 weeks. Then within 3 weeks, we had sold our car, our beloved car, Mahesh. We had sold all of our furniture, including our favorite bed from Koala, which we miss, our couch, our fridge, everything. We didn't even really have that much furniture anyway. And then saved some things to keep at our parents' place for future stuff. We then went to Thailand for 2 weeks and we didn't really know what we were going to do, but we ended up doing this motorbike adventure on one bike. If you follow our Moss and Bush, you know we did a motorbike adventure in Vietnam in the north near Ha Giang, which was absolutely beautiful. I had a scooter, Kel had a proper motorbike. It was amazing, but I had a little accident on my scooter which has kind of scarred me for life, so I didn't get my own scooter. I went on the back of Kel's, which definitely led to a very sore bum. But it was fun. And so we had 2 weeks in Thailand. We came back to Sydney for 3 or 4 days, finished packing up the rest of our stuff, tried to see as many friends as we could because it was just all rush. And then we left on the Monday, 24th of February, to go to New York City. We flew via LA, and it was actually a really easy process with immigration. Again, we had heard and read lots of bad things about the immigration in LA, but it was actually really smooth. And we made it to New York and it was freezing cold. It was dark. We arrived in the evening. I think it was like 6:30 p.m., but it was pitch black. And we were just, I don't know, it was just a whirlwind. The first, 4 nights we stayed in a hotel, and then we were madly trying to find a subletted place, and we organized to see a place that we ended up taking, which was in Prospect Heights in Brooklyn. So it's been a whirlwind since we've been in New York, from finding a place to live, setting up bank accounts, learning about credit cards and the absolute mind bomb that is credit cards and the weird things that you have to do in order to get a good credit score. Working out the healthcare system, which is beyond a joke, and I don't know how anyone figures it out without going crazy. Also the tax system too, like trying to do your own tax. The document was like 144 pages long. So you have to pay people to do your tax. We just spent I guess the first 2 weeks really sorting out all the life admin, like the tax, healthcare, setting up a bank account, all of that type of annoying stuff, but that you have to do. So for those 2 weeks, we really didn't do much sightseeing. We did go to Central Park. We walked over the Brooklyn Bridge, which was really nice. We definitely didn't go into any museums yet. I went into the New York Public Library, which was cool. But at that time, I know I'm pretty sure Australia was in lockdown first, even though it had like hardly any cases of coronavirus. And it was slowly starting to build up here until Friday, 13th of March, I can remember exactly. I decided to go to Brooklyn Library, which is a really big library around here, while Kel decided to go to the local basketball courts, which are actually Biggie's basketball courts, the Biggie Smalls, to shoot some hoops. Anyway, I get a call from Kel and I was like, oh, he's calling me, because I was going to call him because it was a beautiful afternoon. I was like, let's go to this bar. There was this outdoor bar with nice plants and seating outside. I was like, oh, let's have a few drinks. Friday night, you know, get a call. I've torn my ACL on my knee. And I was like, what? And then he said that he tore his other good knee. So he's already torn his ACL in his other leg before. But this was meant to be his good knee. Anyway, apparently some guys asked him if he wanted to join in some, I don't know, 4-on-4 basketball or something like that. And so he said yes. And his knee's been fine lately for the past couple of years, so he thought that he could do it. He apparently jumped up, and then when he landed on his good knee, and it popped, and he screamed, and he couldn't walk. Anyway, we got an Uber back to our place where we were staying, which was only 3 streets away, 3 blocks away, as they say here. And then we just freaked out. But I was trying to be strong for him, but inside I was freaking out. Basically from that point on, which is now 2 months ago, yeah, I think it's 2 months. He hasn't been able to walk properly since. He had to get ACL surgery. We were waiting to clock into my work healthcare to be covered under the employer's healthcare thing, but luckily we had bought travel insurance to cover us until that time. And the travel insurance, thankfully, I don't know how, but thankfully covered his surgery in the US. So healthcare here is ridiculously expensive. Their system is so messed up. I don't know how it's still going this way in a country that is as rich as the US. But anyway, he got it covered. He had surgery. Luckily, my job was working from home, so I could be at home and help him get to the toilet. I didn't have to wipe his butt. But you know, just to be here, change the ice packs, you know, with his meds. He was on strong pain meds, and go to the pharmacy to get more stuff, get the groceries. And by that stage, coronavirus had hit, so we had to buy masks and buy gloves to go to the grocery stores. A lot of the grocery stores still hadn't sort of put in restrictions or anything like that, so you could still do whatever you wanted, but it was sort of like your own responsibility. So I always had a mask because there's no way I want to go to a hospital in this place, that's for sure. During our time at the subletted place, we one night we woke up and could hear little scurry marks, little squeaks, and I was like, what's that? And then I'm like, did you hear that? And he did. And it was mice. So we ended up seeing mice poo on the kitchen counters in the morning and on the floor of the kitchen. So that was disgusting. And it got worse. There was one point where Kel stayed up till 3 AM to try to count how many mice there were in the kitchen. And what they were doing is they were coming through the oven, the stove, like the whole thing. So they would sneak out from the bottom, like under the grill, and then some of them would come out through the actual holes in the stove top thing. It was the most disgusting thing ever. So we wanted to get the hell out of that place. Every night we would have to cover the stoves with like bowls so that they wouldn't get out. We never kept any food outside. We had to disinfect everything all the time. It was disgusting. So during that time we were madly trying to look for somewhere to move to, and we weren't sure where we wanted to live. We were basically looking at Manhattan, Brooklyn, or Queens. One of my friends who I basically grew up with here in the US, she was living in Brooklyn for 4 years, and she was basically saying that Brooklyn is the place to be. It's got a good vibe, and it's not far from the city anyway, so that if you need to work in the city or commute or go, I don't know, if you want to go out there, it's not far away, but you still get that neighborhood vibe, which is definitely something that we both wanted moving to New York. And also for the fact that in Manhattan, for what you can get for the same price, you're going to be living in an absolute shoebox. The kitchen will be like a sink, a stove, fridge, that's it. Like your table will be like your chopping counter as well, and no balcony, you know, no outdoor space, and we just couldn't do that. We lived in a tiny studio in Manly in Sydney, which was amazing. It was the best because we were right across the street from the beach pretty much, and it was just, you know, it was fine for a year, but I couldn't live in that tiny thing again. It's just not worth it. So we're like, we can get more for our money over the bridge. It's still nice, still lots of restaurants and bars. Prospect Park is just not far away, which is where I go every day for a walk, or I go for a run. And it was actually designed by the same designers as Central Park, so it's still a huge park. I think it's like, there's a big path. Well, there's lots of paths, but there's a big path that you can walk and run across that is like 6 kilometers or something. We decided to live in Brooklyn. What else did I write? Okay, what has it been like in New York? Since we've been in New York, the past 3 months have been such a roller coaster. I don't think I've ever felt such mixed emotions for such a prolonged period of time than ever before, which I know everyone is going through the same thing, but being away from home in a new place, like they speak English, so you know that's not another barrier. It'd be worse if we were in another country that we couldn't understand. Figuring out all the life admin stuff was just a headache. Then Kel not being able to walk around and go outside, and me having to do everything, starting my new job, coronavirus, surgery, moving. It's just been up and down, and some days I'm like, what on earth are we doing? Should we just go home? But we talk about it all the time, and we don't want to at the moment. We want to stick it out. Thankfully, the weather is warming up. When we first arrived, it was absolutely freezing, and it was raining nearly every single day, so that was also another thing that was making us depressed. We had to buy winter clothes because it was freezing, and people here were like, this is nothing compared to the actual winter. So we were like, okay. But this week it is finally warming up. Apparently spring here is, you know, very up and down. One day it's been like 24, then the next is 12, and then it just goes up and down. But yesterday was 29 degrees, which was amazing. Today is 24, and I've never been someone to watch the weather as much as I am now, because I'm just like, please sun and please warmth. It just makes so much difference. It makes you want to go outside. Luckily here we have an awesome backyard with a hammock, so I can chill, can do work in the backyard, like on my laptop. There's a rooftop. It's just been so much better. So everything is slowly turning around. Also, we're getting to know the area, getting to know the usual stuff. I mean, Kel still doesn't know that much about the area, which sucks because he can't really go out. We went for a walk the other day, but his physio said that he shouldn't really walk yet. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm gonna do another video on where we're actually living in this house, the area, the neighborhood. I want to video some of the park. If you follow my Instagram, you've already seen a lot of it because I just like sharing it. One thing I was gonna say is we're in this current place until October 1st, and then we're gonna evaluate if we want to stay here or not. I'm thinking that the winter here is gonna be really hard because of the temperatures, the darkness, the rain, the cold. Like, we love hot weather, so we're not sure whether we're gonna stay here or if we're gonna move somewhere else in the US to a warmer spot. No idea where that might be, but thankfully with my job we have that flexibility, so that's really something to be grateful for, which I am. In terms of me and cooking and being vegan and all of that, I'm still cooking a lot. I think definitely towards the end of our time in Sydney, I just sort of wasn't feeling motivated to share recipes. I was busy with work, and then I just wanted to switch off and not do anything, basically. I mean, I am sharing more stuff on Instagram, and I like sharing stuff because I hope that it inspires people, even at least one person, to try vegan food. It's funny because being here, we're living with housemates, and one of them says he's been vegan for the past 2 days. And he told me he was really proud. And I mean, to me, I'm like, 2 days, okay, that's nothing. So my camera stopped filming, so maybe that's a sign that I need to stop. But yeah, I don't know. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos lately, and a lot of YouTube videos about people explaining their life and what they've been up to lately, and that inspired me to share my life. It's probably boring for a lot of people if anyone's going to watch this, but it's more, I guess, for me to look back on at this period of time, as we have moved to New York, and it's a big thing, and I'm interested to know how our life is going to pan out and where we're going to end up. If you want to watch more and come on my journey, feel free. If not, that's fine. And thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, hope it's been interesting at least. If you have any questions, let me know. Happy to answer and help. Anyway, well, I hope this hasn't been too boring, and I'll see you next time in another video. I'm hoping to do some more regular videos, but we'll see. I've said that many times before and it hasn't happened, but let's see if it happens. Bye.